When I was 12 years old, they told me to go to my uncle's barbershop and start sweeping the floor. I didn't hesitate and I went. When I saw the opportunity come, I immediately took action and took it. But what made me have the confidence was because I was in the business for so long. Now, I've been in it since I was 12 years old. I had 10 years in it already. I think one of the big thing was not going to college, because that probably would have changed my focus and probably would have confused me on what I wanted to do. Because I was so honed in on it, I was very confident to skip the college route and know that this was my route to go, to be a business owner. I think it's been, my 25 years of doing this, I think now is probably the best time to be buying, because the lending programs are amazing. Yes, we have higher rates, but we just have more lending opportunities now than we ever did. Because when the market crashed in 2008, all the values of my properties that I acquired from 2001 to that point dropped by 50%. And there was no lending whatsoever. And we didn't have like private lenders at that time, which we do now. So I didn't buy for many years because there was no lending. And that's what was able to get me through. So I just lay low for like the next 5 years until lending started opening up again and started seeing deals again.
But you were during the crisis of 2008. I believe that wouldn't have crushed you because you still have your income from the rental properties, right?
Yeah, my business model at that time was to buy for long-term income and appreciation. It wasn't speculating. So when I was buying a property, I was underwriting it so that, will this cash flow? Will I make extra money at the end of the month? Great. And is this something I could hold long-term? Great. Then I'm in. I'm not looking to fix it and then flip it and try to make 50,000, 25,000. That wasn't my intention. Now, if that was my intention, I probably wouldn't be in business right now, because everything I bought prior to that crash dropped by 50%. But the one good thing that didn't change was the income of the property didn't change. So I was able to weather the storm based on the income and pay down principal while I was weathering the storm.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, because your income kept was still steady.
Yes.
Because although the property values dropped, people still wanted to rent, right? People
you still need a home to live in, right?
Yeah.
You still need a home to live in. Luckily, I wasn't speculating.
Yeah.
That wasn't my business.
Yeah. So there are different business models, right? Like there are.
Right. There's a lot of business models now, more than ever. You could fix and flip. You could, we call one strategy BRRR, B-R-R-R, buy, renovate, rent, refinance.
Yeah,
that's an interesting
repeat.
one. And repeat, right? Yeah, BRRR.
Yeah, the BRRR.
I like that
strategy.
one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
So this was the first property when you bought the, you said that it was a bad decision. Tell us why was it a bad decision?
Everything about it was a bad decision, because I didn't think of it from the tenant's perspective. Because it was my first purchase. I was only numbers driven. Okay, I got 20 grand. Find me the house that I could buy for 20 grand, and I'm just going to buy it. Because there was not many choices with $20,000 in New Jersey where I live, because everything was so expensive. And I wanted to do it I wanted to get started like as soon as possible. I didn't want to wait. So a property came up and went to look at it. The numbers worked. It was in the price range, I don't know, 160 or something. And I bought it. I had one tenant and the other one was empty. I painted it, fixed it up, did what I had to do, went to bring in the tenant, and it was just an open door. Like tenants would come in, they would walk out, come in, walk out. And I asked, I'm like, what's wrong? Why aren't you renting it? They're like, your bedrooms are too small. We can't fit a king size bed in the bedroom. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. No closet space. I mean, we had one closet and it was, you could barely fit your shirt in it. They didn't like that. They didn't like that it was on a one-way road. The road was very narrow and the homes were very close to each other. So we would get snow in the winter and there would be no parking on the streets. So tenants didn't like that. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. No, it was a shared driveway. I was sharing the same driveway as my neighbor. And there was only like one car in the back that we could park, and they didn't like that. Coming out was a tight squeeze. I'm like, all right, that's a good point. So those were a lot of negatives, and I never really looked at it from that perspective. And that's what changed my whole direction in real estate after that.
So did you, like, after this, did you come up with like a checklist of things that, you know, those?
Yes. So it opened my whole world. I'm like, okay, so this is not going to work. What would work? And then it made me think about like jobs, like desirability, because we had one hospital next to that first property, and that was basically all I could tap in from. I'm like, I need to be somewhere where it's more desirable, where competition is less, things are cheaper, but there's jobs growth, like find job growth. That was a big driving factor. So I read a book and it said, the main key, it said, live where you want to live, invest where it makes sense. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's a good point. Because where I live is very expensive. And for me to go about and buy, you know, the average rental unit by me was $300,000. And there was competition everywhere. Like there was high rises. It was very competitive. And our taxes are high. So our cash flow wasn't that great. So I started looking in other states. So I went on Google and I said, show me the states that have the highest job growth in America. This was in 2003. And it was Florida, North Florida. It was Alabama and Tennessee. So those were the three states. So of those three states, I chose Alabama. I liked Alabama because there was a military base there, and the homes, you could buy single family homes at that time for like $50,000. And they were all brick. They were absolutely opposite of what I was buying in New Jersey. They had a driveway, they had a backyard, they were 2-3 bedrooms.
Huge, spacious.
Yeah. You could park your cars in the driveway. It didn't snow. And there was a tremendous amount of job growth there. So like I was renting our homes in days, not weeks, not months, like days, because the job growth was crazy. So
and how far was it from home for you? Like you chose Alabama. You were in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, that was like a 2-hour plane flight. So
2-hour flight.
Yeah. So what I would do is I took off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the barbershop, and I would fly to Alabama. I would hire a real estate agent and we drive around, and I told her, listen, find me anything for $50,000, $60,000 max. That's all I want to pay. And so I wound up selling out of New Jersey at this point, and I was transferring out of New Jersey into Alabama. And 10% down, how much is that on $50,000? $5,000. I was able to buy a house for $5,000. And it was no problem at that time because the banking lending was so easy back then. As long as you had good credit, they didn't care.
Yeah.
So I just drove around and picked off homes one after the other. I'm like, I like that one. I like that one. Put them under contract. I'd even negotiate. I was like, what do you want? 55,000? I'm like, how about 53? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, 55. No problem. And then I would go to the bank and I give them the contract, and they would ask me, do you need extra money for repairs? I'm like, yes. Yeah, I didn't need it, but I just said yeah anyway. So they were adding on to the mortgage for like new air conditioning, if I need to make any repairs. It was great. So it was extra money plus the cost of the property. And I was just putting $5,000 down. So bought as many as I can. That's how it started.
What year was this?
This was 04.
04.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to do that now at that price? Like,
no,
must have changed.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, those 50,000 are worth 300 now. But
yeah,
if you're a first-time home buyer, there are programs where you can, but you can't buy it at the scale that I did back then because the rules are totally different now. You can buy one.
Tell us the story of buying the whole street.
Yeah, so went to another area in Alabama, and this area was growing like crazy, and at the time it was growing fast, and builders were just building out streets at the same time. And as you drive down the street, you have different builders building stuff, and then they're selling them right on the spot. It was going really fast. So I came across this one street, and I liked I loved the street, and I wanted one. And the builder was like, "You can't buy one. You have to buy the whole thing." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "I just want one." He's like, "No, you buy the whole thing. I'll give you a discount." I'm like, "All right, we'll buy the whole thing. What kind of discount are you going to give me?" So I bought the whole right side of the street of the builder's inventory. And it was, again, 5,000 down a property. And
how many properties were there?
This was 8 homes in a
Wow.
row. Eight properties in a row. So that's what we did. We just bought the whole right side of the street.
You could have just named the street as, Dennis Street.
That would be great. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So what's cool was when I was buying these, I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, wow, for every property I have here, it's kind of like a barber working for you, but not in the barbershop, right? Like, when you open a business, you always have to worry about, are your workers going to come in on time? Are they going to be here? Is there going to be any stealing? When it comes to real estate, it's like, they have to pay rent because they have to live there. So if they don't pay rent, they're going to be on the street. So I always looked at it like that. Like, every rental income I get is another barber working for me without having a barber.
Wow. And these 8 properties that you bought, the whole street that you bought, right? This was like about around 5,000 for each property or something.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was still 10% down for each, and you were able to still hold like almost $1 million worth of own $1 million worth of property there.
Yep.
Wow.
That's another great thing about real estate that I learned early on, was leverage. I read in a book once, I'll never forget this, and this is what gave me the confidence to go do this, was this idea of leverage. If you have $100,000 cash in your account and you go buy $100,000 house, you're worth $100,000. But if you take the $100,000 and buy 10 houses with 10,000 down each, you're now worth $1 million. You control $1 million worth of property with $100,000. So that leverage there's no other industry you could control that much money with 10% down. So that's the game changer. That's how real estate needs to be viewed, as how much real estate can you control? It comes down to control. If you can control it, and manage it right and increase its value, you're going to be successful. That's the business. Control it. You don't always have to look at the income. I mean, yeah, income's important to get you through. Don't get me wrong. But it's not always a deciding factor, because if you have a vision for the area and you see the area growing and you see that there's job growth and you see things are happening in the future and you own it, you feel good about that, and you buy a property that breaks even and maybe you pay a little every year, but the appreciation there and you control it, that's where success is, because that's where the appreciation comes, and then you're in control. You could sell it in the future, or you could raise your rents or do what you want.
Right. You could get higher rents in the future as the city grows, as that location develops. Right?
Or what you could do is go back to the bank and refinance it and say, hey, I bought this thing at 100. It's now worth 500. I want to pull my money back out. So pull out whatever you want to pull out, up to 70% of the value if you want. Pull the money out, tax-free, go out and repeat that over again.
Dennis, like here in Dubai, the real estate market is totally different than what you have just explained to us, as what's happening in the US, right? Here, the city is growing. It's exploding. I mean, this is like in the next, there's already, in the last 20 years, Dubai has grown exponentially. And in the next 20 years, it's going to go even bigger. So the real estate investment here is all about, you buy properties and you hold it for the future, and then there is appreciation in the future, and there are new properties coming up, and the whole world is like, everybody from outside are coming and investing here. But from what you said, it looks like there's a huge opportunity for investors here and in India and in maybe in Pakistan and in in Russia, like wherever in globally, people can somehow take advantage of the real estate industry in the US and invest in the US and have a portion of that pie. Is that possible?
Is that possible? Of course it is. Absolutely. More than possible. To have real estate in the US, you mean being a foreign buyer? I think we have the best rules in the world for any foreigner to come to this country and buy a real estate. That's probably one of the greatest things about our countries, allowing people to buy and just do great things with real estate. So yes, absolutely.
Now, as a real estate investor yourself, like you have, like I said in the introduction, you've got almost a quarter of a century of experience in the real estate business, right? In real estate investor. Now, people from here may not have that kind of an experience, right? So are you open to investors from Dubai coming to you and saying, hey, Dennis, here's a certain amount, okay, like do what you can do with this and let's see how we can grow together?
Of course. The rules now are wide open for situations like that, like syndications and partnerships. Whereas when I first started, there was nothing like that. And now we had crowdfunding now, like, you could have no experience, well, maybe a little bit, have a little bit of experience with real estate and go out now and raise capital and go buy big, commercial properties and manage it good for investors. These syndications now are very popular for commercial properties. So yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
More than ever.
So when you look back now, okay, look back at the boy who was sweeping the floor on his uncle's barbershop, the 12-year-old boy, to the real estate investor that you've become now, right? When you look back at this journey, what do you think? Like, are there some people, are there some things or some books or something that you would like to give the credit to for your success?
Yeah. Probably the biggest one for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad book, because it was able to categorize what I'm doing. So I'm self-employed. I own this business. Okay. I'm a business owner. I own this business. I'm an investor. I'm self-employed. So you have to understand where you are in your life and what you're doing, and have a goal to maybe get to the other side. So I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is a really good start in figuring out where you want to be. So for me, I was self-employed investor. And then the goal was for me to go from self-employed to business owner. So that's where I'm at now. So I'm pretty much 98% now business owner and investor at this point in my life. We own multiple businesses in different sectors, from transportation to distribution to real estate. So we're in different sectors, and when you learn how to become a business owner and learn that side of things, you could start playing with other industries. But for now, you just want to know where you're at and where you want to be. I think that's the big key.
Yeah, yeah. You do a lot of things, right? Like, I mean, you have other businesses. We've focused on this in this conversation,
Yeah.
we focused only on the real estate part.
Right.
You have your products on Amazon, Barber Up,
Yeah.
the personal care products. You also do a
Mhm.
podcast, right?
Yeah. I have a
You're a
podcast.
yeah.
I have
That's
a
very, very
podcast.
interesting. I've seen your podcast, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. Um,
Yeah.
you have conversations with your guests while you're doing the haircut.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Barber Up on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can go there, YouTube, Barber Up, Barber UPP with two P's at the end. You can see me cutting hair, and I speak to my guests on why they do what they do, because I think everything that I have right now, most of the things, all was inspired from my customers one way or another.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that to light, and I wanted to show, like, you know, the conversations that happen at barber chair are so, enlightening to listen to. And just having a customer in your chair for 20 minutes, the things you can learn from what they do is phenomenal. So that's what I'm trying to do in the barbershop.
That's such a good point. I mean, that those 20 minutes that for me, I'm thinking as a customer, when I go there, I sit for a haircut or a beard trim. I'm just sitting there 20 minutes. I can't look at my phone because my hands are not like free really. So the best thing is to have that conversation, and what an opportunity right there to have a
Yeah.
podcast, right? Beautiful.
Yeah. My first question is, what do you do, and why do you do what you do?
Wow. So why
And
is the
then
deep question?
why do you do what you do? And then I learned so much. And
Yeah.
there's not one business in my life that I can't attribute to somebody who sat in my chair and told me something about it. So kind of weird. But
And these conversations, like I've seen some of your podcasts, some of your interviews where your customer is also a real estate investor,
right.
right? And then it
Yeah.
becomes all the more interesting because you're in the same industry, you're
Yeah.
talking about real estate and
That was
commercial
that
real
was
estate.
that was a good conversation, because he's out of Miami, and he started how I started, but he went into the commercial side. I went into residential side. So it was really cool to listen to how he started in commercial and how he scaled it to like 1,000 units. He owns 1,000 retail units in Florida alone, and he manages all of them out of Miami. So it was a great conversation to listen to him while I was cutting his hair, to hear how he started and what motivated him and why he's in real estate. So that's a great conversation. Definitely, if you're in real estate, you want to listen to that one.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
a good one.
that was a great conversation. There's so many great points he mentioned about why commercial? I mean, the advantages of commercial over what do
And
you
why
call the other one? Per
residential?
residential. Yeah. So
Right.
instead of residential, he said that, commercial, they will take care of their property because it's their business, right? So
That's
they will.
correct.
Yeah. There are
The
some
leases
interesting.
are the leases are completely different. And another key thing that he mentioned was he didn't feel good about kicking you out of your house because you didn't pay rent, because he feels bad that you have a family. But he's okay with kicking you out of your store because business is business, and he was more comfortable in that space, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just felt bad about working with families and
I
not
I
not
remember
being.
he mentioned, like, when you're removing a family, when you're kicking out a family from
Yeah,
their house, you're kicking out Mary and Bob, but
exactly.
when you're
With
so that
kids.
was like, yeah, with kids, they have three kids, and this, it's like an emotional thing, but that's not the case with the commercial property. All these
Yeah.
options are open, and I'm super excited. Like, this this conversation, this podcast that we're having now is a window for investors from outside of the United States to come in the US, and invest, and be a part of this incredible real estate
Yeah,
business, really.
absolutely.
So Dennis, we've spoken about business, and you're in at a stage in your business and your personal finance. Your passive income is a lot bigger than your active income, right? And you can afford the travel lifestyle. What do you like to do when you're not working on real estate or on your barber business?
I have three kids, so they keep me busy. I
Okay.
live here in Florida now. We moved from New Jersey to Florida, and we're on the east coast of Florida, so we're very close to the beach now. So we like to go fishing, spend time on the beach, ride our bikes, travel. We've been traveling all around Florida, exploring different beaches, islands, and boating and fishing. So my time is occupied with a lot of great things now.
Wow. Yeah, I think this is important to kind of have that balance and rejuvenate yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just as I look back, everything just came full circle, with just working hard and staying focused and persevering, because that's really important, especially when things get bad. People tend to bail and like get out of things. But if your vision is strong enough, and you could weather the storm like I did for many years, from 2010, 2008, probably for the next five years after that, it was really hard in real estate. But I didn't sell.
Mm.
I just kept my head down, just kept on working hard. So just you got to stay focused.
You believed in the power of real estate, and you stayed on your course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you study something so much and just know the value of real estate long term,
Mm.
keeps you in check while things are getting bad.
Right.
Eventually, things are going to turn around. The
Yeah.
question is when.
Mm.
You know
And can you stay patient and wait until that time?
exactly.
Yeah. For the people who are getting started now in their career in general, right? Like, they just finished their college or whatever, and they're about to get starting to work, right? The kids, right? Their mid-20s. What's your advice to them, considering what you've learned, throughout your journey? What's your advice to the kids now?
Learn a skill. Learn a skill. Whether doesn't matter. Just learn a skill. I mean, we have more skills. You can learn more skills now than you ever could in past generations. You could learn a skill to be an online seller. You could learn a skill to work with AI now, which we never had that before.
Yeah.
You could learn a skill to fix a house, or be a barber, or be a dentist. At the end of the day, you want to learn a skill, and you want to be the best at it. and then you want to have a vision for where you want to take your skills. And then I think that's probably the um, best way forward. Doesn't necessarily have to be college. For me, it wasn't. But at
Mm.
the end of the day, you got to learn a skill, and no matter what it takes, just learn the skill and become the best at it, and just scale out from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. And so for the people who are watching this, who are interested in, investing in real estate in the US, what's the best way to reach out to you, Dennis?
You could find me at on my website. It's dennissellfl.com. So it's www Dennis Dennis sell SELLFL.com, and you can see me there. You could read about my biography, my history, and I also provide coaching for real estate, mentorship. So if you want to avoid the mistakes that I avoided the first time I purchased, or if you're looking to scale up and get into bigger projects, I provide, I could mentor you and help you with your real estate future.
Brilliant, brilliant. We're going to include the link to your website in the show
Mm-hmm.
notes and in the YouTube description, and also we'll put it in the highlighting it on the screen as well. Dennis, one final question as we wrap up here: how was your experience being on the Be Your Own Boss podcast?
This podcast,
Yep.
it was great. You asked great questions. You were able to extract a lot out of me that I don't normally think about. So you're a good interviewer, and I think you have a really good future ahead of you.
Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best in your real estate, in your barber business, and your
Thank you.
podcast, and all the other businesses that you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Dennis Balonze, the founder of BarberUp and a very, very successful real estate investor. And if you want to take advantage of the real estate business in the US, get in touch with Dennis. And thanks for watching till the end. You've been watching and listening to Be Your Own Boss.